Hey, today we're going to do 4 tips for Elementor that you might not know about. Let's smash it. Okay, tip number 1 is if you're editing a site and you have the toolbar hidden for various reasons. Sometimes if you use a fixed header, the WordPress toolbar, this guy up here can get in the way. So there's occasions when you want to turn it off. So I'll do that now. What that does do though is removes your ability to quickly jump into a page and edit it. So one trick you can do is just do $Elementor, and that will load up the Elementor Editor. Tip number 2 is in regard to the year on a website. So at the footer of the website, sometimes you'll see copyright and then the year. That's a PHP, usually a PHP function in WordPress. You can manually do it. You just have to be there at midnight every year on New Year's Eve to change it over. So I'll show you a quick way to have it automated. So I've just dragged a heading into the footer here. I'll just make it smaller so it looks more like a copyright thingamabob. Just add some margin to it. Okay, so let's get into it. So over here in the title, we're going to click on dynamic. Going to scroll down to where is it? Current date time. And what that will do is put the current date and time in. If you click on the wrench here or just on current date time, you can choose the formatting that you want to use. So you can choose any of these. You can also choose custom, and here you've got the PHP formatting for the various components of a date and time. So all we need is the year. If we delete that out, we can see we've got 2019 down there. Then we need to go to advanced, and before we can go copyright space, or you can paste in the copyright symbol. So if you're on a Mac, you can go Control Command Space. That'll bring up the character viewer. In Windows, I think it's called character map. I can't remember how to get there, but you figure it out. And then you go to, I can never remember where this is. Letter like symbols? Yeah, letter like symbols. And double click on copyright. And that'll insert it over here. Then after that, you can put the website name, and then have a fallback as well. So it's, if PHP isn't running, then the website won't be running, but never hurts to have a fallback just in case. So you'll just exclude the year. So worst case scenario, if this doesn't work, then it'll just have the copyright and the website name. Okay, that's tip number 2. On to tip number 3. In Elementor Pro, there's a fairly new feature called motion effects. So if we go into advanced and then to motion effects, now I've selected this heading here. I'm going to tick scrolling effects and come down to rotate. Okay, so straight away you can see it's rotated quite a lot. And as we scroll down the page, it keeps rotating. So what we can do, we can minimize that effect by changing this to 0.1. And we can see that we've got this sort of, 5-10 degree rotation on the element. As we scroll down, it seems to rotate just a fraction more. So what we can do to, and that might be something you want to do. You might want to have it rotate as you scroll down the page, but you also might just want to be able to quickly pop a rotation onto an element without having to do any CSS. So this is achievable in a CSS, and in some situations it's probably preferable to do that because you'll have a fixed value. But if you want to add a little bit of life to the page and a bit of delight, then you can do this. So I've minimized the viewport at which, the point at which the effect takes place in the viewport. So if I scroll now, we can see the effect is almost negligible. It might be just a slight rotation there, but because I've brought these 2 sliders in, it has, let me just move them out again so we can see what it was like before. So it's a little bit more rotated now, and as I scroll, it rotates further. So we can see the P coming down to hit the bottom of the bounding box there. So if I move these back, and this can be a little fiddly, trying to get the slider in the right spot. I've left sort of a 10% gap between because I don't want to have to sort of, it gets kind of fiddly if you try and click and drag a slider if it's over the top of another one. So that'll do. So this will create a really subtle scroll effect. So it just moves very minimally. To increase that effect, you just bump up the value here. So you can see it's sort of hitting the bounding box there. And as we scroll, so we're increasing the rotation here. We're not increasing the, how much it moves as you scroll. It's just how much it's rotated. So if we wanted to really emphasize rotation there, bump it up. If we want to minimize it, we just go down to a decimal value. And that is a way to achieve rotation in Elementor Pro without having to do any CSS. All right, on to tip number 4, last tip for the day. So if you're using the customizer, the WordPress Customizer, to edit the CSS for your website, which I currently do using a plugin that's sort of additional to the customizer, which I'll touch on in another video, you may have found that the breakpoints in Elementor don't match up with the breakpoints in WordPress's customizer. That's because Elementor uses these, standard breakpoints. So tablets from 1024 pixels and up, and down, and mobiles from 768 pixels and up. So that's that kind of breakpoints that they've used. Whereas the customizer uses 1300 pixels and 720 pixels respectively. So we're going to change the values in Elementor so that we can save some time and frustration trying to figure out why things are working at different breakpoints and why they're not. So all we need to do for Elementor is to go into Elementor and then settings, over to the style tab, change tablet breakpoint to 1300 and the mobile breakpoint to 720. Save that. And then any changes that you make in the customizer will align with the changes in Elementor. So this is desktop, so this is from 1300 pixels and up. This will be between 720 pixels and 1299 pixels. And then the mobile will be anything under 719 pixels. 719. Okay, so that's a really handy tip because that's caught me out a few times and I've been frustrated and like, oh, is this not working? So you need to get your breakpoints aligned with Elementor and the customizer, and then you should be good to go. All right, thanks for watching. I'll have another video ready soon on my preferred plugin for the WordPress customizer and CSS. It's a doozy, so stick around. Cheers.